Hello, everyone, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my god, that threw me off.
Happy Halloween! Yes, it is my favorite time of year, and a lot of people's favorite time of the year because it's October, it's autumn, it's fall, but more or less, it is Halloween. We don't do too much Halloween content. I'm sure on the week of when the newscast, maybe we'll put on a couple costumes too. But this is doing our annual. It started last year where, every few months, try to do as much as possible. The patrons get to pick a movie for Halloween. And we're going to tell you a little bit about that in a second. I am it, Trask Snell. I'm joined by...
I am the follower, Kirkland Patzer.
And I'm Hart Casterdelmas.
I'm the whose boat was it, Taylor Field?
Whose boat was it? We'll never know. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, so what you can do over on Patreon is, like I said, every once in a while, we do Patreon picks, and there's some sort of theme. If it's an actor, director, we did Oscars, Christmas movie, which will be coming up, video game movie. Oh, we did that for Mario. Yeah, so that'll be happening again soon. So this one, as usual, October, Halloween time, so time to get a little spooky. So we put out there, and I think this was our most... submissions ever. When I got there was tons of votes and put in there and everything like that, but it's
got a lot of horror fans in our community.
Yes, absolutely. But it has come down to the winner being It Follows, as you see by the episode, put in by the great Summer Hansey, a.k.a. The Criminal as well. But she has put this in. We are going to review this. Is the first time. That was the only rules. We just said don't pick a franchise. We'll probably do like a Halloween, Nightmare, etc. because we want to make people's pick count. And that's why the next time, at any tier in Patreon, I guess phase 2 and up, you can put it in a vote. And then the producer tier, they are the one that gets to vote. So with Christmas coming up, the other Patreon polls, make sure you head over there, subscribe there. You could have got this a couple weeks early. You get it ad free. You could get other things exclusive early, and lots of. And plus, we are getting that season soon in a couple months. Golden Geeks will be coming up, and that's very important because each and every one of you are the voters. So start watching, start getting ready. So, Mr. Musk, I'm going to start with you. What did you think about It Falls? Is this your first time? Had you heard about it? Came out 2014, so right before the inception of this podcast, a year before. So I remember
a year after Inception. Maybe.
Ooh.
That's a random guess.
No.
Maybe a year,
No.
2 years,
3 years. 4 years. 4 years.
Yeah.
You had me convinced.
But I remember there's a lot of scuttlebutt. We talked about it. We talked about it a little bit in that first year, but never a proper review. So here we are, almost a decade later.
Yeah, no, never seen it until this week. But yeah, it's always been on my radar just because of I think you, Travis, just talking about this movie over the years. That's somewhere in my brain that memory exists. I don't know where it is, but it could have been those early.
I think it's early ones. Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, going in fresh, didn't really know too much about it except for Kirkland in our Discord chat that the four of us had. Kind of just like spoiled like what the concept, I guess.
Oh,
is.
did he?
Like, yeah,
I have him on
I was
mute.
asking like,
Apologies.
what movies did get picked, and Kirkland's like, oh, like I don't want to. I guess I can spoil. He's like, oh yeah, like the STD one. Like you just like says like this. I'm like, I somewhere in my brain I probably knew that information, but
Jesus Christ.
What
that was
happened?
terrifying. Oh my god. Shay just terrified me.
It Follows just fucking
I literally
got him.
just saw her like walking up on my camera, and I'm like, there's someone in my room with me. Holy
I
fuck.
gotta go back and watch.
Oh my god. I apologize.
That was so good.
So yes, the information was somewhere swirling in my brain because I knew this general concept. Travis talking about it. Kirkland slightly spoiled it, but it was fine. It was more just like a refresher. I probably, as soon as I started the movie or read the description, probably would have remembered what was going on here. But yeah, I don't feel like I know the director or any of the actors really. Like this, I guess there was a couple actors that looked slightly familiar, but for the most part, it felt like a very clean slate sort of viewing on this. You good over there, Kirkland? Doing well?
I'm good. Yes. I apologize. That's actually scared the hell out of me because like as you were talking, I know I've already said it, but like I could just see an arm in the side of my screen, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now? Okay. Yeah. Apologize. We're good now. We're recentered.
It Follows. Back to this. I had a really good time with this movie. It was very different than I guess what I was expecting. I guess I expected more of a kind of classic slasher, and even after the first, like the cold open of the movie, I was expecting that's what it was going to be more about. But this was just a very lo-fi movie, very little music, especially in that genre. You think about all these loud sounds or these kind of these unsettling tones. There is a bit of that in here, but for the most part, the movie's very quiet. It's very lo-fi. It gave me a lot of Napoleon Dynamite vibes for that reason. Just people sitting around and talking and not doing anything. You know, so much of this movie, like there's very little plot to it. It's really just a sequence of some simple scenes and all that. But it really worked to its benefit, I found. And I felt like in giving a lot of space in those moments, it let me, as a viewer, just as I'm watching, just think about that concept and that horror idea of this creature kind of consistently following you and whatnot. So I really enjoyed it. Very weird. I don't even know if I'd call it a horror movie. I don't even know if I'd call it a thriller. It feels kind of genreless in an interesting way. But I had a really good time with it. It's a very unique, different kind of movie.
Nice. Just want to. I'll throw it at Kirkland Patzer, but just wanted to bring up the instant replay here because I didn't see it.
I probably knew that information, but.
God damn. We gotta have
You can see my eyes too,
Oh,
like
yeah.
investigating what's on my own screen
Yeah.
there.
We gotta do a supercut because remember a couple years ago that happened to Taylor when Madison walked in and he got scared during a Mando review or something like that late night.
It's on
So
the TikTok.
I feel like I
It
also
is
don't
on
have a
TikTok,
concept of like
man.
where I haven't been to your house, Kirkland, so I don't know where the door is. I don't really know how like someone.
like, yeah, how
It's
close?
the other
is-
side. It's on the other side, but she.
How
couldn't do
close
that
is the
side.
door to your desk? Is it arm length?
No, like she. Oh god.
And it's like
fogging up
directly
again.
to the side of you. I'm
It's
guessing,
not
the
like
door.
close, and usually like I have good peripherals and everything, but I don't know. Maybe I'm
So
I'm
dark
a
and
little bit
fuzzy,
at an angle right
yeah.
now. It is very dark, and she was
So,
kind
like-
of just slowly creeping.
Why did
in.
she walk? I've never seen Shay just walk into the camera. So why did she walk in like that?
She was just saying goodnight. She was just being
Okay,
nice.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised. Yeah, she probably said a few times and Kirkland didn't hear her, so you should get up there. So
Yeah, but, like, and there's also no lights on, like in the hallway, so maybe I would have seen shadows or something. But
And she was
Maybe-
wearing a mask and had a knife.
honestly, no, it's more similar to this
Strangles
movie
me out.
where Kirkland's living his life and he sees Shay walking up. He's like, "Oh, that's regular Shay," and then it's not. It's the it follows creature. you
that's
know,
probably what
so.
scared me the most too, is because I mean, I guess I'll just go now. I've never seen this movie before. I remember in the Dylan's parents' basement days, you guys discussing this film, and I don't know. I just feel like I was interested in it, and then it just completely like evaporated from my memory bank until honestly probably like now when it got like posted so on the Patreons there for the poll. So I'm very grateful actually that it was picked because I finally got to see it, and I was very pleasantly surprised by this. I think if I had to be like critical, I would say like the first two acts are very strong and the third act is really not strong in my opinion. Like I would even argue it's pretty damn weak, but I think that they totally like nailed it in those initial building up of the suspense and just I don't know, making the viewer kind of like look off into the background, because I feel like there's a lot of opportunities for like Dylan, you mentioned like there's not a lot of big in your face jump scares or anything like that in this film. It's just, for me at least, it really hit on like that tone and that idea of like you can never just really be comfortable and fully rest, because this thing, although it's not moving fast at you, it's following you, and it's just I don't know. I think it's just a creepy concept in general. And yeah, after I watched this movie, like I was taking Marco out for pee outside, and I'm just like waiting for someone to be walking down the street right at me.
Now this old man, fuck off, fuck you.
Can you see that guy? Can you see that guy?
Kirkland has a gun out, just ready.
Oh God, no, definitely not. But yeah, getting back to my thoughts on this movie, I think yeah, I thought they did a really good job of just setting that feel and making you looking over your shoulder. And yeah, I thought it was a nice suspense filled adventure. I thought the score was actually like the biggest takeaway for me. It had some really the synth vibes to it. I feel like I just love when a synth is used, either in music or in scores or like Stranger Things. They really hit on that synth on their theme. So I don't know, it speaks for me, and it just brought some sort of otherworldly creepiness to it. It wasn't so much like paranormal, but it was like something adjacent to that. So I really, really dug that. And yeah, I'm really thanks Summer Hansey for posting this one, because I finally got to see it, and yeah, I wasn't disappointed.
If you make it, hey, and as usual, you know, if you join the producer tier for the first time, you can get to review any movie. So if there's something you really want us to review, that's the That's the way to get us to do it. So, Taylor Field, well-known advocate for STD protection. So, what do you think about this movie?
What?
Trav's got the giggles really on this
He
cast.
does.
10 minutes in.
I thought about that introduction a second ago, and I just fucking laughed, and I got the reaction I wanted, Taylor. That confused of like, what? I said there's nothing wrong. Well-known advocate for STD protection. That's a good thing to have, Taylor.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah.
I think I didn't hear everything that you said, though. All I heard was STD and Taylor Field, and I was concerned.
That's all he heard the first time. too,
That's all I
guarantee.
heard. What'd you say? What'd you say?
See? And that's how I knew I would get him, because I said it in a positive way. But once he heard STD, what you you see him?
Yeah, I'm not really hyped on this movie. I feel like it is over exaggerated and all that jazz.
Had you
Didn't
seen it
feel like
already?
it's long. I actually felt it was actually pretty short, but I had seen it already. I saw it a long time
I thought
ago.
you asked him, had you seen it in 3D? I'm like, what difference would that make? You
I got
said
They're
3D
coming
glasses
right at you.
home. Yeah. Very intense. But yeah, this is my second time watching it, and that's because the first time I got through it and thought, yeah, okay, yeah, I've watched it once. I don't need to revisit this film ever again. And lo and behold, they had to do what the patrons want you to do. So I
Tis in the
watched it.
patrons' messages like, don't vote for this one. Don't vote for
Yeah.
it.
I just found like there were some very tense moments. Don't get me wrong, some very tense stuff, and I thought, okay, this is done really, really clever. It's done really, really well, but it's not overall a movie that really had me engaged and really just on board with our characters, really connect with our characters, and really like rooting for them. I just felt like, okay, it's just an act of survival, and I don't know, like. I won't go super far into it. Like, for this girl to have the situation full, she's got a great fucking group of friends. Like, they're very supportive with everything that they end up going through. But other than that, I think the movie serves as just a great awareness campaign for, like,
See?
as you said, Travis. I'm an advocate for that, apparently. So,
Put that as one of your job descriptions on Facebook.
yeah, but I'm just not sold on the film itself. I don't know. I kind of pick apart the thing that's in this too, I guess you could call it. So I'm excited to talk about it more with you guys and kind of go down that road, because yeah, overall I'm not very impressed with the movie.
Wow. Exciting times to have Taylor being the biggest detractor and stuff. So, as I see my name, I forgot, make sure November 4th, you come tune in, help us, watch, join, donate, whatever you can do for our 24-hour Extra Life charity stream. It's our 7th annual, lucky number 7. So get us to that goal, $2,500. There'll be some sort of, we're working on some stuff that has some sort of, unlock this if we get to this goal and stuff. But yeah, lots of good events going on. Dodgeball, trivia. We're doing a fight game tournament. There'll be charades. We're going to drop the first teaser for our movie. So lots of good stuff. 24 hours. We know everybody, whether you're the Eastern, Pacific, UK time, please at some point come join. Come help us stay up. But most importantly, donate or share the link. We'd really appreciate that. Right now, you can go get the hottest selling GV shirt of all time, which just over a week it broke our record. The GV Barbie logo that's selling like hotcakes, and all those proceeds go towards the BC Children's Hospital. So do that. And if you donate and you don't buy the shirt, you can be entered to a draw to possibly win it. So, well, no, if you get the draw, yeah, the draw is a possibility. If you get picked, you do get it. I made it sound like
You might get it if we pull your name. We might decide not to give it
If
to
we
you.
pull your name, you gotta play a game. But no, go lots of ways to support, lots of tax deductible ways to support, and if not, just share a link. We appreciate that, and it should be a fun day. Yeah. So for myself, this is my 3rd time watching this because I have this unfortunate history now. It's not that unfortunate, but last year, when we started the Halloween Patreon Pick Retro, we did The Empty Man, thanks to Clay. And I had just watched The Empty Man like a few months before for the first time. It's like, oh, I'm good. And about a couple months ago, I was like, I haven't seen It Follows in a minute. And now I've watched it twice within like 2 months or something. And that was not one too many for me, because I'm not as harsh with it as Taylor. I enjoy the movie quite a bit. I think I guess I enjoy aspects more to it. I like the characters. I think acting's good. I like the situations. I think it's in a weird spot where it's too long to be a short film, but then it would be too short to be a film. I'm not sure if you get my drift, but I feel like there's too much to cover here that it could be just like a 15, 20-minute thing. But then they kind of extend their reach too far. Like this doesn't need to be 110 minutes. You know, we're talking about in the originals about another movie. This is actually 110 minutes, and like I think it loses a lot of steam. I'm with Kirkland. Like I don't know if the third act's bad, but I definitely don't. It's not my highlight, and I think it's just tough because it's a great concept. It's fantastic. You hear this concept, it's a great allegory for sexual transmitted disease, safe sex, all like youth sex, all that type of things, right? Using people the same way people get, used in relationships. They talk about, oh, just go sleep with someone else. Like there's always great things, but I think one, they kind of lose that messaging a bit towards near the end because they just are focused on the creature, and that's fine because you got to kill the creature. But I think it's just kind of like, what do you, and we'll get to, it's just like, what do you do with this concept eventually, right? There's no finality to it, and I guess there's a certain thing they do, and it's just weird because there's something that's suggested in the first 5 minutes, and usually you would feel like, oh, our characters are going to go on a journey to figure out something else. And it's about an hour, 5 minutes, or like 105 minutes later, and the result's the same. They don't move too many places. I never know how to say her goddamn name. What is it? McKay Monroe. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but she is like a great actress. She's like a present day scream queen. She's did this, a movie that is my favorite of hers is The Guest. It's with her and Dan Stevens. Fucking really, really good movie. And then she was in The Watcher last year. That was a really big hit in our Discord as well. So I really like her. The rest of the people are fine. So I like this movie. I feel like I have liked it less as each time I see it, but not by huge amounts. I think the first time was just the concept. I did remember the first time being underwhelmed, but now when I get back to it, and it is a little bit that I watched it twice within a short time, where I'd watch it the one time and be like, oh, I think I'm good for a while, because it's definitely not one of the favorites. I think it's just there's some good shots in here, and I think there's also some stuff that people find scarier than I do. Like, it's a minor spoiler, but whatever we're talking about now is that always gets shared, is that like the tall guy reveal. Like, people share there's like a jump scare, something that really frightened them, and that never got me. Like, there's nothing that really scares me too much other than the things falling, which is great. But so I enjoy the movie. I think it probably sounds like I'm more negative on it, but I like the aspects. I think it just kind of putters out near the end for me to like love it or think it's great. I think it's a great concept, and I think the movie's good. That's where I kind of am, and that's still a good thing. We're just talking about on like a critical level, right? So it's still a good watch. I think I might watch it again one time, not in the next 2 months, but maybe like in the future. But yeah,
Just 3 times in 3 months.
another
Just why not?
Patreon poll. Yeah,
That's our Christmas movie.
yeah. There's a
Patreon.
part in Christmas. There's a tree, so. Yeah, let's talk about the creature, the disease, whatever it is. So obviously that's the setup if you don't know. If not, definitely go watch the movie and then come back. It's on Prime, at least in Canada. I think it's probably pretty easy to find around these parts. But yes, that's what we've talked and danced around. It is pretty much in the place of a sexual transmitted disease. It is, or infection as it's called nowadays, where you sleep with someone or you're being followed. Let's say I'm being followed by something. Sometimes it could take the form of someone you know, authority figure, something that's going to get closer to you. And if it gets you, they don't reveal it till later on in the movie, but we kind of assume, well, I guess the girl on the beach, right? It's going to kill you. Something bad's going to happen to you. So the only way to get rid of this curse is you got to sleep with somebody. It's in my trivia that the director didn't say this in the movie, but if you were to use a condom or if it was same sex, it still transmits. So they don't go over that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
I wish I did. I wish I did a little bit, but that's fine. Because I think there's a way they could have figured out the ending a bit more, but that's okay. So that's how we meet our main character. She's seeing this guy, she's digging him, and he seems a little bit off, but they go on this date, they get on. Not a way you want to end a date. She gets fucking tied up and, everything, and he explains this whole thing that, chloroform, thank you, and he explains this whole deal that, this thing's going to come after you, the rules I just gave to get rid of it, sleep with someone else, and then you'll be good. You'll still see the thing, but it won't be after you. So, Tay, I want to start with you because you said that you had problems with the thing, a problem with the creature. Where is that from? Like a rules perspective? Is it from where is this coming from?
From what I'm trying to follow here, right out of the gate. So he had a one night stand, doesn't even know the girl's name. Now, did the girl do the same thing to this guy and like tie him up and let him know and give him the rundown on the rules? Because I didn't get that gist. I felt like he found out after the fact, and then like I understand. I feel like you're like doing the rule forwarding of information is very important because that's going to keep you alive. It's going to keep the next person alive, and that just keeps going and going and going.
Mm-hmm.
But there's that little bit of information that I found a little convoluted, so I wasn't sure with that. But then the creature itself, I come from the mindset like if it bleeds, we can kill it, Predator, or in like Zack
I come
Snyder's
from that mindset. Like,
Zack Snyder's
Yeah,
that's my worldview.
300, where they make Xerxes bleed and they prove he's not a god. Like this thing's
Yeah.
bleeding and it's
on Taylor's
wounded.
resume.
Yeah, this thing bleeds and they can wound it, so they should be able to kill it. But it's also like it's a physical thing. It's actually an actual thing standing there, but it's just invisible.
Their
Yeah.
problems come with that. I've never liked that aspect of, especially near the end. I know we're jumping, but when you can throw the sheet over it and the other
Yeah.
people can interact with it, because I just think that gets into a whole situation of, then why don't you just like you shoot, like, because every time they headshot this thing, it does go down and seemingly dead, and I can buy, okay, it regenerates fine, but then why aren't you wrapping this thing up in chains? Why aren't you like
Yeah.
disembody
melting
it,
down? Yeah,
and put
like
it in different boxes. And
that's where it's kind of murky of like, does this thing just regen later on? So I've never liked the people that I'm down with the rule of like how the guy says, oh, I still see it, but it's not after me. I'm fine if people that have had sex that's seen it before, sure, they're like initiated, but the people that haven't, that means this thing could be walking around all the time bumping into people. It's just, there's a few rules that get a little dicey, I think, when you really start to pick it apart.
And like for me, all of that gets kind of opened up in that third act, and that's why I think that is so weak, because like up until that point, they're not really ever interacting with it, right? Or I guess
get
maybe at
hurt
the end of
from
the
it.
second
At the
act, because yeah,
beach.
that's
Yeah.
the beach there. But like up until that point, it just seems like this thing that I would have assumed like only the people that are affected by the transmission can actually see as well as interact with it. But then the beach happens, and yeah, it like one hands Buddy, I think his name is Paul, and he just goes flying. So then it's like, okay, so it can kind of just pop off on anyone.
Yeah.
But like that kind of seems weird, because how come it can like walk through people, right? Because like when
well, it never walks
Jay's
through
character.
people, right?
I thought it did though, because like in Jay's school, when she first sees the grandma, there's like two girls talking.
It walks between them, but I think
Okay.
it
That,
makes it
like,
look
for me,
it
it's
walks
like-
through them.
Okay, that's a little bit lucky, because like what if you're in Grand Central Station,
Yeah,
right?
what if a
It's
fire
like
alarm
rush
goes
hour.
off?
Yeah,
They were
there's
just
like
bumping into an invisible thing.
yeah.
Like, what the fuck's going on here?
Exactly. And I definitely have issues with just like the sheet thing, because like you guys brought up some great points. Like, why don't they just fucking like bootstrap bill them and just send them
Send
down?
on the bottom of the
bootstraps,
baby's Joel's
bootstraps.
locker.
Yeah, exactly. So like for me, it's I think a lot of what you were saying, Travis, too, and your overall thoughts, I definitely align with. Of just, I think the concept of it is so well, like it's just such a great concept.
Very clever.
But
Yeah.
then like they do outreach and saying like, okay, our heroes are gonna find a way to overcome this, and that's when it gets messy, because when they actually get into the logistics of how they're gonna stop this thing, it just, for me, it became super, super weak, as opposed to just this idea of this monster out there that's just never ending, or like relentless pursuit for you. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts there.
I think you guys, I mean, you're making good points, because I feel like, Taylor, you mentioned too, like, how did the first guy that we meet at the start of this, like, how did he know the rules of this thing? And like, none of that ever really makes sense. Like, how would anyone ever figure out how this thing possibly works, right? Like, you would either just die and then it would like go back to, and like I don't think there's any logic of how that kind of thing could possibly work, unless you have the situation where like every single person ties the person down and slowly explains it to them, like, in the way they're getting the exposition kind of scene earlier on. In this one, I don't know. I guess like obviously there is the physical element to it, but there is still the supernatural element to it, and that's where I feel like maybe it isn't always an exactly physical thing. And also like trying to think about how to pin it down. It's like, how many other people have really figured that out? Like how many people's friends have like actually touched it or interacted with this thing? Because
Right.
like it's not like the person who has it is going to be able to lock this thing down. I don't know. Maybe you could somehow, but it doesn't. We'll take a shot to the neck from a bullet and just like get back up again. So I don't know. The way I see it, like never. And even at the end of this movie, right? Like I guess it's kind of an ambiguous ending, but they presumably killed the beast for good, but then at the end of the movie, there's a guy walking behind them again. So is it the thing, or is it just some guy in the street? Of course, is that kind of the ending? But the way I take it is that like this thing never truly dies.
You slept with those hookers for no reason, you know.
Does it bother you
It's
guys
true.
too
He's
that
itchy.
this thing just like I feel like they set up the fact that it's never stopping, it's always moving, it's always like going, and yet first time she sees it in her house, she walks into the kitchen and it's just standing there for a while and then it starts moving. Or the other, like there's other scenes too where it's just standing there.
Why is he on the
I
roof?
will. Like, well, the roof
was a
scene
weird
that
one.
definitely
Why
freaked
is he
me
there?
out. That definitely freaked
Time
me
and
out.
Taylor
I'll give,
Hereditary
on that
vibes.
scene, but like, yeah, hereditary vibes. But I don't get why. Yeah, why is it on the roof and why is it just standing there? Like this is. I thought it's always supposed to be in motion, following you.
I think that's the problem with this type of. I wish they had more rules around it, whether it was a nighttime thing or a certain amount of hours thing, or they could have even did, like, I'm not trying to be cheesy, but like even like a time of the month thing, you could tie that with sexuality and things, just because if this thing's always coming after you, I think they give the characters plot armor a lot of times, because there's so many times where this thing is, and the director says, it's part of my trivia too, I think that's like it starts to get more aggressive, and that's why you see its face doing that. But it's still like, okay, if it's getting more aggressive, why is this thing just standing on the house? Like, it doesn't. I get this. It's a tough thing, because like I get this idea of, oh, you've locked all the doors, but we've also just seen it like, open doors or get through doors, or even then, like, why wouldn't it break glass? Like, I think that's where it is tough when you do this. This thing's always after you. Okay, if it's like that's where you set the rules. We talk about originals, right? Like Freddy Krueger, you fall asleep, that's when he's after you. Jason's when you're at the camp, right? Michael Myers is Halloween. If this thing's just always after you, I kind of get that looming sense, and it is kind of like a sexual transmitted thing, right? No one can pick when they're gonna get one. Like, that's just a thing, right? It can happen to you, whether it's herpes or AIDS or gonorrhea, whatever type. So I understand that it's kind of that illusion. I think of like it's always a looming danger, but I think once you get it to an actual physical threat, it's tough, because it's a cool shot. Don't get me wrong. When they're driving away, this guy's just cock and bush out. He's looking mad. He's just standing on this roof. But same thing. It's like, okay, if this thing's always after you, I wouldn't believe that it's not like gonna try anything. Like the tall guy, like he just got in their house randomly, you know. So it's tough, you know. I think that's why I try. Like, it's different for this time. I feel like when I watch it, usually I don't pick it apart as much, but this go around I do a bit more, because there are sort of things where you think, okay, why, what you've set up, and yeah, I guess it never stops. Like, what happens? You know, that's for another time, I guess, if they ever did a sequel. But I just like wonder what would happen if they get to like the last person, right? Is it just ended? Like, what do you do, right? Because eventually you'd get to the end of the line if you kill everybody, I assume. But
And like that is like the issue of them not just very clearly stating these rules of like, yeah, between these hours, this is when it's hunting time. Like it is just kind of left up for interpretation, because even just like, when does it change form? Like, we don't ever see it just morph or something like into a different person. It's just when nobody sees it, that's when it changes form, because it's just like once it enters like the next level or something, right? Like it's a different individual, and then that's when we see it. And yeah, I mean, I feel like that's something that I was kind of thinking about more so in the final act, because it's just like that is kind of when it is getting a little bit more intense, whereas in the early stages it seemed kind of logistically plausible, of like the amount of time that they were driving somewhere, that like, okay, if I'm thinking of where this thing is right now, if it's just walking, like, yeah, they have plenty of time. So I feel like, I mean, your guys, like Taylor's point, or even Travis was saying, like on more viewings, it kind of goes down in quality. I can definitely see that arising with this movie for myself as well, of just thinking about those logistics of how it all works there. And I think that might be just something that goes with the movie, unfortunately, in a negative direction, or a negative point against it, I guess.
I would have appreciated a little bit more of like a gauge of time, and the only real moment we got that, I feel like, was when she sleeps with the one long-haired friend, and then he's like, yeah, it's been like 3 days, nothing's come around. But I feel like the other instances where they're driving away, they're driving off, I feel like it is a negative flack against it, because this thing what should have been like a hours and hours long drive, this thing is all of a sudden right there. And I feel like, okay, it gives the impression the thing is almost like teleporting, but no, they reaffirm it's just walking, but it's still very rushed in that sense, I guess, if that makes sense, because she goes to some very remote locations. Like they went to the pool, which was very far away, and I'm to believe that she just sat in the water for what they made it feel like it was a long time, but she stayed in there for what, days for this thing to come around?
Technically, if you time it right, the thing that is walking, if you just keep going back and forth to other locations, it's just going to literally just keep turning around and doing circles, you know? So maybe it wasn't that far. You think it's walking all that way, but what if it was already at the midway point, you pass it, it just turns around and goes back, right?
But it was at her home, right? Like it was on top of the roof, and then they drove to the pool.
Yeah, I know. I
You'd have to find a ladder to get down somehow. You know?
Maybe it was a close pool. Could have been a close pool. We don't know how. It was the school pool. I don't know how close the school pool was, but yeah, there's a lot of it. So.
That ending sequence ended differently than I was expecting. I thought with like the thunderstorm going on outside that was going to knock the power out, so the electricity thing that they were like going for wasn't going to work. But then that's not really what happened anyway. And that was the part that was maybe a bit strange to me because they mentioned that like. Or maybe it's not mentioned, but maybe you just kind of think about it this way, that the creature obviously has some sort of brain capacity to it, because it's obviously not just walking directly towards the person at all times, as we've talked about, which I think if they're trying to make that a parallel to the STD thing, then I think that's totally fine, because you know, if you have an STD, but sometimes it might just go years without like having any symptoms, and we'll just like pop up again and start fucking with you.
It's a brain of its own.
Yeah, it's got a brain of its own, that pesky gonorrhea. So you just like in that way, it's like it doesn't really bother me if the thing isn't moving, but it was weird when at the pool and it was like walking around the pool and like picking up objects and throwing them. Like I don't know, that felt like, okay, now I'm confused. I feel like now I've been introduced for, you know, an hour and a half here of how this thing somewhat works, and I get it. And even if it's not always in motion, I can still somewhat understand, but I guess that was just I don't really have an explanation for that. To be fair though, like none of this stuff really bothers me that much. It is fun to talk about. I like talking about the rules about it. But you know, I think I was even like reading a little bit about the director talking about this movie, and I guess he just had like this idea, just like in a dream or like a daydream at some point, right? Where not the STD part of it, but just like this idea of this creature,
something following him. All the time,
constantly following you, and maybe it's a slow pace, so you can like always outrun it, but it's still just that idea that it'll always be there. That sort of thing, and then kind of thought about the idea of how that could work with an STD and combine those concepts into what this is. But to me, that kind of works of like this just being this weird, dreamy concept, and if the rules don't all work correctly, it's like, well, dreams, like rules are broken all the time in there. So I don't know. I wasn't really bothered about it. I was just maybe a little confused during the pool sequence about what was going on. But I think the more you think about it, the more I feel like the concept does break down, and we just have to question like, well, how much free will does the creature have? I guess it has a large amount of free will, and it just chooses that most of the time it's just going to walk slowly toward its target for whatever reason. Not sure why it wants to do it that way, but it can.
Yeah.
This thing probably got so I'm assuming it's been around for a while, but when they invented cars, just like fuck. Just to rethink its whole thing.
What they finds about planes? My gosh.
Yeah.
Director did say that they could go on a plane, so that's where I guess if.
Well, they just have to walk on, right? But
yeah.
I guess if they have, well, they don't really wear clothes, but like they get through security real easy. Like they bump through people.
How?
Like,
they don't have a ticket.
I guess they could
invisible.
just change into someone that's like
If you're,
already.
if you're invisible,
I
you can
guess
go through a lot of places.
Actually, yeah.
Oh, right. I guess you're
Yeah.
invisible, right?
Forgot
Yeah,
you're invisible.
until they bump into somebody and so because like what happens?
Unless one of the random security guards had the thing at some point, and you can see the
Yeah.
person.
You see it?
like imagine that you're on a plane and just someone you see it. You're thousands of.
I'd be freaking out.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
what the fuck does this guy
Yeah,
see?
But
That'd be
imagine
sketchy.
if you get on a plane and then you get off and the doors close with that thing in there and that like flies off to wherever, Mexico or something. But then wouldn't that mean the whole time they're like trying to get the food cart, they like keep bumping in this fucking thing, right? Like it's in the way.
I wouldn't get down the aisle.
It's just on the roof, like Peter.
Like
Yeah.
the only way to get away, you'd have to go to your own remote island that no one else would know about and just live there for the rest of your days.
Well,
'Cause
they
if
would
you
know.
Go, It would know, but how would it
It'd be
get
stuck
there? Like it,
Well,
it
it could swim. I think this thing
does
would
it
die.
swim? 'Cause
I
it looks like
don't-
it just pops underwater.
No, I don't think this thing would die from swimming. I think it would take a long time, but I think it would eventually swim back to you. That
I
should
just
be a
pictured it
sequel.
walking like fucking the pirates and Curse of the Black Pearl.
Yeah.
Like on the bottom of the water.
That should be a
nice.
sequel where somebody has these characters, but like that'd be great if you pick up somebody when they're like 50, 60 and they got this when they were 20 and they were the one that cracked the code of same thing, like they flew somewhere, left it stranded, but it took them like, let's say, yeah, you left it in, like how long do you think it would take to walk from Mexico to Kelowna, like something like that, like and like that it took 40 years to get back to you, and just think that your life's all good and this thing comes back. Like I think that'd be good with an
get
older
Stephen
person.
Lang in there, do like a Don't Breathe 3 and have him like the survivor.
The blind guy has to go up against the fucking thing no one can see.
Yeah.
Do you see it?
No, I don't. God.
The addition that I really like to this is that when I guess the target, we'll call him, is killed, that the I guess disease tracks back to the previous person
Yeah.
that had it.
Bummer.
One, I mean, I guess that kind of works for the STD thing again, of like, it's not like a game of tag. It's not like you just give it to someone that you don't have it anymore. But
Yeah.
still, it's one of those things where it's like, well, you still have that disease potentially, and it could come back to you in the future once again in the way it can go dormant for various years.
You would never know, right? That is the good concept about that, because even at the end, like they sleep together and then they insinuate that he goes to sleep with, because they do that a few times and no one really answers it, but they insinuate at one point that she might do some stuff with those guys on the boat. I don't think
Yeah.
she does because the ending, but they insinuate that because he drives by, I'll pull up the character's name, the one that they were like semi in love, but I think it's a very
Paul.
kind of, yeah, Paul. I think it's not like a great love story, but at the same time they are like kids, so it's like I can believe this. They're in high school, so it's like it's fine. This makes all sense. I can roll with that. But they insinuate that he goes to sleep with a bunch of prostitutes, so it's like that's a great idea. Like he does, right? At the end he drives.
I
by
know.
three
I
of
know.
them.
It's
Yeah.
just fuck.
But,
He
like,
just
it
looks
is a-
so nervous. That poor guy.
It is a great idea if you think that's the person you sleep with. We're guaranteed like that's gonna spread faster throughout. But it is that, and I do like that. And that's where again, great concept. Like Dylan's saying, you would never ever fully be comfortable because you could think,
And-
what if they've killed all those people back to you? Because anytime you see a random person, like when they got back to the first guy, he's like, "You fucking see that?" You see, it's just a poor girl who was just playing soccer, and like, yeah, dude,
Yeah.
we see like, oh, okay, so like you would always, even if you got rid of it, even if it's like double digits people behind you, you'd never fully feel comfortable that you're free. So I
Yeah.
do love that.
No, I love that idea, and I thought they did a good job at showing that, even with Jay, that was her name, the lead, and because after she sleeps with long hair buddy in the
Derek.
hospital there, she's still like, she does not, it doesn't seem like she sleeps like at all, like she's still like always looking out, and I feel like that would be sticking with you forever. Like I don't think you would ever be able, especially just like the shit that she's been through, the things that she's seen, like that just traumatizes you for life. So I thought they did a good job at definitely showing that. Although you pass it on, like you're forever stuck with that, which I guess that is a really good parallel as well to the STD thing.
Like, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, so how is it killing you then? Because we don't see how the girl dies at the beginning. We
chokes
see
you out.
how
Full Nelson.
well, we see how it's apparently throwing shit at Jay, but then we also see how it's given Eric, the long haired
Fucked
guy,
him to
just
death,
like
you know?
it fucked him to death.
He's
So
just
is that
spewing
what it's
semen
trying to
out.
do?
I think it's just like again like an STD thing. Like I think it just like sucks the life out of you. But I think they use like bodily fluids that remind you of sex just to kind of insinuate that. Like I think they're kind of implying in a way like it is kind of fucking you to death. But I think it's more of a bigger meaning as far. It's just like taking your life away.
Maybe it depends on which form it has at that point in time. Because that could be a thing too. Like maybe in terms of the personalities, like maybe the naked guy on the roof, like for whatever reason, that guy, whoever that guy is, it like, I don't know, maybe he was known to be naked on his roof. I don't know. Maybe he just stands around on his roof. So I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I feel like that could be part of it too. And like even like the, when they're at the beach, and there's like first it's the girl walking up, and then the big guy comes through again, and then there's the kid. When they bust through the door, like the kid like does like some weird cringy screech thing, but it's like no one else did that sort of thing, right? But it was like I get that the way I took it is that like the kid's personality or playfulness was kind of coming through in that moment. So it's not just their appearance, but also like their personality is somewhere in there. But yeah, who knows who these people are. I mean, I guess some of them, like that one girl was Derek's mom, so it can take the form of real people or
awful way to go.
dead people potentially. I would imagine it can really just has a large pool of people it could take.
It did
You
that
open the
student
door.
too.
Which student?
Well, there was a scene where they were all in the car and they were going to pull out from the high school. And then you see the peripheral vision because Derek is talking with Jay in the front seat and then Paul's in the back seat watching them kind of like connect, and then use your peripheral vision. You can see the schoolgirl walking towards them.
in the white jacket, I saw her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like they had the victim from the very first scene. Like she's following when Jay jumps in the car and leaves all of her friends at the beach. Like it's the form of that girl that died in the beginning.
And then I'm pretty sure the guy at the pool is her dad, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and he presumably is dead, so I guess it could be people who are dead too.
That's a great line. She's like, "Who is it?" Like, "Oh, I don't want to tell you." So it's a good because they show you. They I think I have in the trivia that you see a picture of them slightly in the beginning, but at the end they show a picture of them all at the pool.
It's when she's getting ready for her date. There's like a photo on her mirror of
It's not the same picture, is it?
I don't think so. I think there's two separate pictures. Yeah.
But I like what you guys mentioned earlier of the ambiguity that's thrown at you a few times, like with the boat sequence, with the prostitutes, and then even the one with like Derek after he gets it, he goes to the mall and he's like hitting on some girl.
Yeah,
like,
you're like, what's happening?
Kissing her and stuff, and you don't know what's gonna happen there. And so they do it. I guess it's in theory kind of the same thing 3 separate times, but it always worked for me. I guess it probably makes sense that of course the protagonist characters are going to be the ones that keep it. And the way I take it, I don't think Paul slept with the prostitute. I think he probably felt too guilty afterwards, and I especially felt that when they were holding hands at the end. I just felt like okay, they're going to fight this thing, and they are good-hearted. They don't want to give it on to anyone else. At least where the story ends. Maybe in 5 years they've had enough of them doing that rat race, and they want to get over it.
You have to I feel like if you choose to live with it, you have to, depending how far you go. But yeah, you have to do a big trip, wait for it to follow you, and then come back. And then every year, it's back. We got to take our trip again.
And try and calculate the math on it.
Yeah, but you got to take a long.
It's so funny.
Trip,
In the middle of the movie when they're just in their car, I don't know. It's probably the 4th time that they're just in their car running away from it. I'm just like, man, they got to do some science experiment where they just measure out how long it takes it to go 100 meters, and then you can literally get an estimation on how much time you would have on where it is at a certain point. So it's if I drive from Vegas to California, you know exactly how long it takes for it to get there, and then you can if you really wanted to min max this living with the the it transmission, you could really do it well. I think, but also there's
so
the
hard to get those
thing.
numbers though.
No, it's on the Google app. On Google Maps, you can choose between biking, car, or bus, and walking, and you can go from Mexico.
Taylor, but sometimes the creature will stand still. Or what if the creature goes on an escalator and that's quicker? There are so many variables. The wind resistance on this thing could change how quickly it's moving. I don't think you could just Google Map that, unfortunately.
I'm either taking my own life or
And Google Maps doesn't walk you in a straight line. Or can you do that, Taylor? Is that what you're saying?
I'll show an example here.
I'm taking my life, or I'm sleeping with the prostitutes and spreading. I'm not living that stress my whole life. There's no way. As long as everyone passes it on, everyone gets a turn, and then you just pass to the next person. That everyone can have a slight amount of stress for a couple days, and then it's gone. As long as you keep the chain going and stuff. Now, I don't think you can get to the 8 billion people in the world. I don't think everyone's gonna have it. So that's the thing. But no, that sounds terrible. You could not have a life if your whole life is planning around this fucking prowler following you all the time. You couldn't have kids. Imagine you're sitting at your kid's dance recital. You see the thing walking to you. It's man, not right now. Can you just wait till after the show when we can do this? I'm definitely sleeping with a bunch of people, getting rid of it.
Are you telling them though?
Or I'm trying what I said, where if we could Aladdin, and where you wrap it up in chains, throw the bottom water, and see what happens first. I would try a bunch of steps first.
Yeah, I feel if you lock it in an entirely metal bunker,
a safe.
I would need to track it though. I would need a webcam on it, because what if it just fucking bamfs out of there or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with Google Maps, you can go drive, and I'm gonna go for a walk, for example. And then basically you can go Los Angeles to Las Vegas, and this accounts for the most direct route to get there. Okay. And it'll give you the amount of time and everything. It's a long fucking route, so it's
tell us.
Hit it.
Hit it.
You're lying.
He's not. Yeah,
You're
you're
lying.
lying.
But
You
this is
can
gonna
actually
put you
tell
on,
it
like,
to.
no
You can
stats.
avoid hills.
You
You
know
can avoid
stats.
stairs. Avoid busy
Just
roads.
give me a
too,
number.
so-
But you can't have it go direct though, right?
What do
Because
you
I
mean
don't think this
direct?
creature cares about using the sidewalk. You know, like it'll go through anything.
Oh yeah, it's walking over your
that's true.
brushes.
Just give me a timing with sidewalk. Just give me a fucking time already. Throw it out here.
Oh, it's loading. That's a long
Oh
walk,
my
Travis.
God,
Las
Jesus.
Vegas to Los Angeles. That's a long.
You're
walk.
dead
Is it-
already.
this
While
is
you're on
gonna
the
kill
Google
you.
Your
Maps.
computer in
That's
your
fucking
hand, and it
got
can't
you.
calculate how long it takes to walk from two popular cities. Come on.
Guys, it's
You need to know.
Yeah, we're dead now.
yeah. Well, let us know when you get that time, just because I want to know like how you'd have to sit there for that amount of time in Vegas and then wait. But even then, like it's just like that's tough. But because even then, like that's like I'll have to wait till you get the. Are you googling it now? Is that what you're doing?
So if you were to walk, it would take 101 hours.
That's not a lot. So you
That's
get
non-stop walking. So as this thing is doing, so you
that's
can,
like four. That's like 4 to 5 days though. Only that's not a good.
so
trip.
if you drove, it's 4 hours and 9 minutes.
Yeah, but then you have to sit in Vegas for 5 hours, so you let it get there, and then you got to drive back for 5 hours. So really, you're just like avoiding it for like 10 hours, and it's back. Because if your
100
drives,
hours.
I guess there's 20 hours. So like, it's 2 10s for them and 2 5s for you. So that's what I mean. You're
So you
literally
get,
just
you
avoiding
get
it.
you get
10 hours.
4 days basically for a 4-hour drive.
yeah,
4 hour
sorry,
drive
days.
gets you 4 days. That's not too bad, and you can go
Yeah.
make that longer if you go further, right? Even then cross continent.
Still,
another
4
continent,
days.
so.
That's like you can't live a life like that. You're constantly. You'd have to get a job where you travel. That's what you'd have to get.
Are you telling people the rules though? Like,
do
are
you
you
mean?
just like
You kinda have to.
sleeping
To
around?
If you
Your own
want it
ass,
to keep
right?
going, you have to. Because if I just sleep with somebody and they die right away, that doesn't help me. Because then it's just the naked
Yeah.
guy's back with his cock out on my roof again. So like I gotta,
Yeah.
I gotta
You don't
get
want
this
that.
going. And that's why the
Well-
prostitutes. That's the only way if you want to lie. The prostitutes is the way to go because they're gonna be sleeping with a bunch of people and they're gonna go and but
See, but I feel like I would always be thinking that it's eventually gonna get back to me. I feel like I'm
Absolutely.
arming up. I feel like I'm getting, I don't know, guns
But it's
or
always gonna
fucking
keep
swords
getting
and
up, so
battle
eventually
axes.
you'll run out.
You don't know that.
What?
You don't know that. You don't know
it got
eventually
shot in
gonna
the
be.
head twice in this movie and it still came back.
But
So are you
you
gonna-
don't know
Travis, are
for
you gonna,
sure
like,
that it came back at the end.
Go visit a prostitute in another country or something. Because if you just go in like the local,
Oh, that's a great idea.
Kelowna,
that-
then it's like, well, it's not going to take long for that thing to come back.
The other country's great. Yeah, no, that's a prime example. Got to go somewhere safe.
They have their own it that they're giving to you. They have the
trade.
European version.
Trade, yeah.
Yeah, definitely go somewhere where there's a border at least. But yeah, the definitely other country because then hopefully it goes on for a while, and then even if it gets to the point where it kills the person you slept with, it's gonna have a long trek back to you, right? So you'll have some time. But that's the problem of like, what if it comes to you while you're sleeping? Because that never happens in
Yeah.
this movie either. Why does it never get
No,
to
it
them when
does.
they're sleeping?
Well,
When?
I mean, if Jay wasn't there, Derek got it while he was sleeping, basically, as far as I'm concerned. Like
Yeah.
he was drowsy and opened his door while he
I
was
guess
Mom was
that
waking him up.
yeah, the creature was nice enough to knock to open the door. Didn't just bust in. You know, it was like, can it open doors?
fucking like it went ham.
It's struggling.
It does try to open doors because when doors are locked, then it breaks your window, right?
Yeah, home robbery.
I will say you guys spoke to the ambiguity.
You
Fuck.
got it the first time?
That's the
First
Ambiguity.
time was
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah.
Ambiguity.
That's the one. Of all those different scenes where it could have done this or they could have done this. And so I definitely feel like Jay swam to that boat and slept with those guys. That's how I took that scene. And
See,
then,
I don't think so because it came back so quick already. That's
oh,
why
because I don't
so.
think she told them. Like I think she just slept with them and she got she got some rest at home because she felt comfortable, it seemed like, for a bit. And then that thing fucking killed them. And then it came back.
I did not take that actually. I thought
She
that
rests
was
at home, so she must be comfortable. She just had this gangbang, so she must be comfortable. Taylor,
Because
asserted
the
in
killer,
this
the
moment.
killer's not coming
Oh,
after
look at her! Look at her! She's so rested. They had such a good time. In that situation, though, what does that happen in a group activity? Who's the one that gets it?
It's the first receiver,
First
I'd
guy.
say.
Damn.
But then,
Sucks to
I mean,
suck.
are the guys, playing with
True.
each other too, or is
Hopefully, yeah. If there's, because he said it can be same gender, so if there's any stuff going on with the guys, then that's a triple header for her right there. That's 3 in a row.
But then,
Patrick.
like, the guys are hanging out.
Yeah,
the
they're all
thing's
dead.
just gonna be, yeah, exactly.
They're
That's-
all dead. I like what you said too, Dylan, with the part with Derek's in the mall chatting with that girl, because I didn't even realize that in retrospect, and that would play it out, him not seeing it for a few days, like because he should have by then seen it. So him not seeing it for 3 days, as he puts it,
That's
that
a good
makes
point,
sense.
actually.
Yeah, I
that's a
didn't
good
really think
point.
about
That
that,
might be why Derek. That might be why it took Derek so long. But,
But
then
it was at
but
the
I don't think
beach
it
though.
took-
Remember? It was.
Yeah,
a
but he
late-
still didn't believe it at the beach, and
it
so
still
after
took
that,
like
I
happened-
3 or
know,
4
but-
days though, right? Like it
But
took
Yeah,
a
it was
still,
a
long
long
time.
time.
But we don't know how long this beach is, right? Like it's like maybe they drove from Las Vegas to
It
Los
was 4
Angeles
hours,
Beach.
then they got 4 days. Yeah.
But yeah, that could be. It's just, I feel like it's.
I don't feel like the other two. I mean, I guess the timing at the end of the movie is a little bit more ambiguous. So who knows what Paul did
Yeah.
over there? But I just felt like I feel like they also tried to set it up like Derek, a bit of a sleazy guy at times. So it makes more sense. Where I also just don't think Jay did it because I feel like she's a good person and she wouldn't do that to someone intentionally until like her and Paul made the deal to do it that way. But I don't think she would have just done that just to fucking kill
Yeah.
these people. Like to me, I don't doesn't make sense for the character.
I definitely did not think it went that route as well. Honestly, in the moment, I don't know what exactly was going on. I feel like in the moment I just went with it. I thought she like just took a boat ride home or something. Like,
Well, that'd be smart, right?
Because
Buy a
if
lot of
it was
time.
following her to that point, maybe you get on the boat and then you kind of give yourself some extra time there.
Yeah.
That's literally how I just headcanoned in that moment. And then when
Until the
she
creature would
eventually
tell like the most perfect breaststroke and just like just
fuck,
fucks
just like fucking
just dolphin.
I guess it did swim then. I was gonna say it didn't go in the water till it got shot, but it did like pull her leg. I was just trying to see if it didn't swim, then you're the houseboat life. That's what you got to do.
yeah, cruise ships.
That's easy to move
working on
around
cruise ships.
too.
Yeah.
Cruise around in your own home.
You could live on cruise ships for the rest of your life. I've seen retirees do that. So
You could probably have like
It's
a
not
helipad on there
financial,
too.
Maybe
That's
living on
pretty
a
ships
cool.
are
blimp,
cheap.
that might
Hell
be
of
I mean,
Yeah.
maybe not for her. She's young and in school.
How
So
long do you
let's
think you
say-
can live on a blimp? That might be the way to go.
I don't know if blimps are really a thing anymore.
You just
So-
see
Are you
someone
sure?
on another blimp like floating up to you.
Let me see.
I want
I
to
mean,
take
after
one
the
step
last-
further. Let's say
The blimps have to be like perfect temperature and like air pressure too, don't they? Like on a windy day, you wouldn't want to be on that blimp.
Blimp
You're going
master.
down.
You tell me.
I'm the blimp man.
Yeah. Here's one other scenario. Let's say, you've been working your whole life training, lots of science, lots of looking into it. You've always been a big Neil Armstrong fan. And you decide
yeah.
you're going to become an astronaut. What does it do if you're on the fucking moon? Can
It's
it get
just
to
you
the
see
moon?
something space walking up to you.
It's in a spacesuit, just like floating in the air.
That's
a
when
good
like
idea,
you know
though.
you're fucked.
Yeah. It's
What
like
kind of
on
life is that though?
on the
honestly?
fucking moon, just
Like your
wouldn't
whole
that
life.
suck if you're going to the moon and then right before it launches, the thing gets in the ship and you're just like trying to avoid this whole time,
But if it's in a suit, like not a lot of mobility, you probably can't
Yeah.
probably can't just snap.
Just
your arm
jettison
out.
it out into space.
But good for the
That's
person
play.
before,
Alien-
because
alien move.
the astronaut died, but if that thing's in the spacecraft, you're not going to be seeing it for a while if it's like in
Yeah.
space
True.
somewhere, right? So
Deal with your blimp. I don't know if blimps have been a thing since the Hindenburg disaster, to be honest.
Zeppelin.
Unless you mean like the hot air
I'm
balloons.
getting some really conflicting results on Google.
Hansi, I hope this
Here it says the
podcast was
last
everything you
the last one
wanted.
was retired in March 2017, but then there's another thing
wow.
of how many active blimps are left, and there's 25 apparently. So like,
Those are the people with the disease.
yeah, I don't know if these are like blimps that you could go on though. These might just be like.
Like the
advertising.
fat tire
museums,
blimps or whatever
yeah.
the
But yeah,
fuck
put
it
me in a
is.
Remax balloon. Send me off. Like that's how I'll survive. Send me a baguette every week. I'll be okay.
Some podcasts,
Once a
they
week.
give you expert analysis of film. Here we are. And like I said, Hansi, hope you're liking this. We're telling you about blimps and if they're still active and if that's the right way to go. And that's what you get
That's what's
here
great
at
about this
GeekVerse.
movie. Like that.
Oh,
that's-
exactly.
It's such a great concept, and
Yeah.
the movie leaves it so ambiguous, and only does it so much exposition that it leaves so much to interpretation. And yeah, like that idea is so good of just thinking about how you would survive this thing. It's like how would you survive a zombie apocalypse, which is an age-old classic question. That
Yeah.
But eventually you
I'll
could get to the
always
end. You could kill those zombies, right? This thing.
You could always do
knows?
submarine, right? I mean, that's kind of like a similar space scenario. You get like a pretty big sub. And
Naked
Yeah.
cockeyes just standing on top of the submarine in the water. He's still out there.
It's
Yeah,
great
you only
year
have
for
one exit on that
submarines,
thing,
so,
right?
Yeah, that's a good call for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think I
part-
could live in a submarine.
No, I don't think
Different
so.
life.
I think you'd go.
It's
they
a
should make,
different life.
Speaking from experience.
yeah, they should make Lighthouse 2, but called. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna make a movie called Submarine. We're gonna remake the Lighthouse one time, but just have the two characters in a submarine. And
in
Oh,
that.
Tell me
You
more about
fondled
this,
his mic.
Travis.
Yeah, tell
How's
us
your
more
day?
about the submarine.
How's your day, Travis?
How's your day?
Character wise, I like them all. I really just care about Jay. I don't really care too much about the other ones, but I'm fine with that because I think they're just supposed to be like, they're fun teen characters. Don't get too much fleshed out about them. Don't like Derek. Happy he bit it. He just seemed a little, I don't know. Seemed a little. He
He's
did
kind
her
of a wild card.
solid.
It was hard for me
Yeah.
to like pin on it. It seemed like he was very like genuine and nice, and then he just seemed, I don't know, that like seems like they're going through a lot for him to just be like, this is fake. Like you're fucking making
Yeah,
this
it's
up.
one of
There's
those
no way."
tropes that I hate when I know he is peeing so I didn't see everything, but it's still like you have a character who's like, no, I was flown like 10 feet across the beach. He's like, well, it's got to be something else. It's like, what the fuck else would it be? It's going to be something supernatural or not, but that's fine. He gets killed off right away. Death scene's great. It's like a real, like I remember that stuck with me the first time more than Tall Man. It was just like, not just his mom just knocking, the fact that her tits are out, and then when Jay opens the door, he's just getting ridden. It's like, that's the ultimate worst way to go out. But I think they're
Yeah.
serviceable enough. I think they're better all together as a unit. I don't think separately they're that exciting. I wish they maybe gave who's supposed to be the love interest guy at the end there?
Paul.
Paul, I wish they gave him and Jay a little more time for me to, because I like where they're going at the beginning with, oh, you're my first kiss. There's some flirting, but then kind of right away. And again, this is high school, so that's where I kind of go, I guess it works, but in a movie sense that she, is into Derek pretty quick, but even that's a very loose situation. So I wish they made them a little closer at the end, where I sometimes just feel like she is just with him because he understands the disease. I don't think that's the reason, but I just feel like it's just kind of like a by default, she's with Paul now.
Yeah.
I wish there was more to it there, but I think it's all like good and serviceable. There's some fun lines, some fun dialogue. No one's like a dislikable character, so that's a good thing. I like her sisters. So yeah, overall, I like the group of characters we follow on this journey. So.
They all seem just to be kind of like into each other, I guess, in some point in time, because Paul kissed Jay and kissed Jay's sister, and then Derek was sizing up the one lady at the house. When she's standing on like the rundown house, she's standing up on the shelf or whatever, and he's just standing there at the doorway like laughing at her, but then like looking
Oh
at
yeah,
her
that's a
and
good
everything
point.
like
I can
that.
believe he's checking
And-
like the camera zoom on like her ass and her legs.
Yeah, and
I
he's
totally
looking
forgot
at her.
about that.
And he also checks out Jay's sister, and then he sleeps with Jay, and then you learn that Jay and him slept together in high school, and so everyone's just like they're a very close group of friends.
They should have just all did it together, keep the familiar bonds away.
I thought
I
we were
thought
getting
that
there
was-
at some point.
so did I.
I thought the
Yeah.
orgy scene
They
was
should've-
imminent. Where
Yeah.
let's all get on. Maybe leave one person out, but then that, that person's kind of just third wheeling hard at that moment. But you need
Yeah.
someone who
It'd be
can be
Paul.
like,
It would have been Paul. He would have been the
Got
one.
it.
that
They're,
was-
they're like,
you
one
and
of
two
them-
sisters would figure it
they're
out.
like,
but
one of us can't be diseased. Paul? Yeah, it's Paul. Paul.
it's too
the one
pure.
guy that
It's
wants
worse.
to.
Yeah, and that one shot when he's in the hospital watching Jay and Derek, it's just him watching this orgy go on, and he's like, yeah, I'll keep scoring. Nah, they probably didn't do that, because I remember Stephen King did that in the It book, and everyone fucking hated like the youth orgy scene, so they're probably doing the same thing of like, don't do that again. But I thought that, especially like, maybe they could have just aged them up, because you said high school. What are they in? Aren't they still in high school?
No, it's like university. It looks
I
like.
thought Jay was
They're in a
in like
frat house.
post.
Yeah, I thought Jay was
okay.
university kind of moment.
Okay, yeah, I guess I'll give you that. Then they should age them all a bit old enough, and then you fix the pool problem right there. I get it. You lose the whole, like, some of them don't see it, but when they're all beating them up and everything, if they all see them, then you're kind of good to go. And I think that could have made for an interesting group dynamic of like, yeah, it's fucking weird, but it's like if you're resorting to like terrible means, it's like, I'm sorry if there's anything after us. We're all fucking gentlemen. That's what's gonna have to go down. We're
yeah.
I'll play
it's good.
Paul on this
fucking the
scenario.
train. the train
Taylor, I'll be Paul. I'll be Paul. No, you're Derek. You're the first one up, buddy.
just like in high school.
Yeah. So like, yeah, I was hoping that might happen, but it didn't happen.
As far as the characters go, I agree to an extent. I feel like none of them on their own would be like an all-time great character, but I really enjoyed them as a group. Like, I love how many scenes we get of the three of them minus Jay just like sitting outside the house on the porch, just doing absolutely nothing. And the one girl always has like her weird reading thing. It's like, I don't even know, because this movie takes place, I don't know when it takes place, but it seems like based on some of the style and stuff, maybe it's a bit of an older movie. But then she has like this really high-tech device, this reading Kindle thing.
So
She uses
Paul-
it as a flashlight at parts too.
Right,
Like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
a multi-tool.
Yeah, I'll pull up the trivia because they did that on purpose. There is multiple things that show that it is present day, so I do I do get the vibe of that. But the time frame of the movie is intentionally kept undefined. Oh, what the fuck? Why aren't you gonna do? Oh, jeez Louise! Okay, hang on, I gotta go full screen here. 1 second.
Quick side note, do you think it's weird?
Not quick. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, do you think it's weird when they're investigating that rundown house where Paul just sits upstairs alone with the porno bags?
There's
just
cum
like,
rags
through 'em?
all over the
Yes.
fucking Playboy.
I wish
He
I
just
would
like
be
brushes them off.
Yeah, Paul's.
I mean, I guess at that point they'd already talked about how they looked at this porn mag together as when they were younger or something. But they are very comfortable. They all are very comfortable around each other.
So gross.
And it's like a Jimmy Neutron situation. Like there's no parents around in this world. It's just like a world full of kids. Yeah.
Hang
You
on.
still
give me
getting that?
Yeah,
thing?
quick
Okay.
second there.
another quick second there. Hang on. It's almost
I
done.
was gonna say. I mean, a sequence that. Because we're talking about all those rules, and most of the stuff didn't really bother me. One thing that really bothered me, though, is when fucking Paul at the end is just shooting in seemingly random directions at
Towards
his
the friends.
Hits his friend in the leg. Like, I don't know.
Over here?
That was
Over here? Is that
incredible.
where it is? Point.
Yeah, like I didn't feel like there was a huge amount of. We gotta hurry in this moment. Like, let's take our time. Let's get this right. We probably only have a certain amount of bullets, and he just fucking fires one off towards his friend.
We're here.
Crazy stuff.
Here, no, here. He's gonna grow up to be a fucking card-carrying NRA member. He's been looking for an excuse to shoot a gun his whole life. Like, and when he shot that girl, that was no accident. He did that completely right there, just like he's taking them out. Like, oh yeah, that was something. But okay. Oh wait, no, you're going.
I was just gonna say, in that scene too, I could not get over how fucking bullseye that killer is with those objects. Like, it was throwing a fucking like a TV at one point, like a toaster, like every
Clothing
single object,
iron.
just headshots.
It had really
Headshots
good
right
aim.
on Jay,
Really good aim.
right in the pool. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, man, how vulnerable is she? Like they thought this was such like a master plan, but like you're just treading water in this pool, and you're losing breath because you keep having to go down after you just keep getting repeatedly domed by this invisible monster with the fucking cannon for an arm. I was just I was shocked in that moment. It was very surprising. I liked when like Paul was getting close with the gun and the monster's like eyeballing Jay, but he's like pushing Paul back, like he's like trying to reach out for him. It was just
Don't.
yeah. So I found it like borderline terrifying and borderline comedic in that moment.
The time frame of the movie is intentionally kept undefined so that it resembles a dream. Some of the cars are shown from the more recent times. Many appear from the late 60s to late 80s. There's early CRT televisions are shown whenever the characters are watching movies.
Yeah, the TVs, that was the thing. That was the
Yeah.
giveaway for me that, like, this is an old-timey thing going on
Yeah.
here.
Conflicting technology includes Yara on a device that looks like a Shell compact, but she reads from it like an ebook reader and uses it as a light source at one point, like you were talking about. Also, the girl at the beginning of the film uses a cell phone, drives a modern automobile with
Right.
several modern vehicles and everything. So I think it's just a mix mash just to have some fun there.
Which I think is cool. I like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
stylistic choice. I really enjoy that. Yeah.
yeah. Anything else specifically you guys want to shout? Scenes, characters?
That's all the
more before I-
trivia, eh? I thought I was
No,
I was ready
no.
to sit
No,
down.
I have more.
That's it,
I don't have
Kirkland.
that much trivia. I just
damn
threw
it,
out one
Kirkland.
randomly one.
I hear you. I'm good.
In the beginning, I actually really liked. It's funny, like the more we talk about it, I was just finding more holes, I guess, with how it works around the it thing. But in the beginning, when it just like the cold open, this chick dies somehow. We don't see the killer or anything.
Leg
and then,
fucking bent to high
yeah,
heaven.
and then it just goes on, and like it doesn't seem very long for the point for when Jay and Buddy like have their meeting, and then he just like shows her the like the killer, and like I just felt like we were moving so fast and not a lot of like deep explanation there, and it just I don't know, it was working for me. I like not having this like, yeah, this thing was founded in 1600s and in this Salem whatever, like I didn't need the backstory on the actual creature. It was just a terrifying idea, a terrifying thing that is following you. We don't know where it's coming from, and this is just what's happening. And I think for me, like, and that's why I said like the first two acts were just were just amazing for me. Like I was just totally in what was going on. I didn't need all these explanations. And then in the third act, yeah, they just kind of overstretched a little
The
bit. and
movie
that's where they
gets
lost me.
into it right away too, which I
Mhm.
appreciated.
Yeah. I do really like the first date when they're playing that game, like, who would you be?
Mhm.
He's like, oh, that girl in the yellow dress. Like, what girl in the yellow dress? Oh, that girl's standing right there. And then he just slowly flips. Really good tension build up. And even then, like, obviously, Kirk can spoil it for Dylan. But if you weren't watching it, knowing
Sorry,
an
Dylan.
idea, like, after they get it on and then he just abducts you, you're like, geez, like, what the fuck's going on? And she wakes up in the middle of nowhere, tied this chair. Before he reveals it's a monster, there's just this girl outside walking around butt ass naked. So you're like, what have I gotten myself into? So, and even I think it's really like well done and striking imagery of when he pulls up, he's just like, go do it, sleep with someone, and he drives away. But she's just like, her friends are just sitting there while she's like dropped off in the middle of the road, like all shaken, all torn up, missing clothes. So like the first half an hour is like, it's a really, I think, good setup, and it does like, it takes its time, but it's not too slow at the same point. So I think that part pacing wise is all top notch.
And like from that drop off when she's with her friends and everything, just like knowing that it's following, like for me, the observer, I was just like kind of on edge from that point. And I think that was kind of actually like the peak of the scariness for me was like, especially like when Paul stays over and she like goes and hangs out with him on the couch. And like even before we get the reveal of the chick that's pissing herself and like bloody nose, what it was very terrifying image. Like even before I saw her though, I thought it was like like peak scariness for me because I just know that it's coming. The window breaks. Paul goes in there. There's nothing there, and then he just like goes upstairs, and the camera is still just on that shot of him going up the stairs. I honestly thought it was going to be another Paul or something that like comes in from the kitchen, and like up until that point, she wouldn't exactly know what's going on because she's only seen like the one naked woman. So I actually thought it was less scary, the reveal that happened, because she goes into the kitchen. It's like a slow-mo shot of her like, what? And then like the music gets all like weird, and then you just see this terrifying image. But I just thought the buildup was the scariest part there. And then the other terrifying spot was just when she first sees that grandma at the school. It's just, I don't know, like you see her very often in the distance, and then it just gets closer and closer. It's just this like
In
the
the
way that she's just
gown,
staring
too.
right at her. Like it's not like this is a mistake. Like she
Yeah.
is coming for you, and just goosebumps in that scene.
Definitely.
Other than that, I have no other scenes.
All right. Yeah, Dylan talked about that Deprives of Nightmare the director used to have, so you kind of timed it with this one. Mike Lehner, who plays the very tall It, is a 7'7" Detroit resident who designs engines for General Motors and is one of the world's tallest twins. So I guess there's another set of them too, so good on that, Mom. You'd have to find the story because I can't remember that clip was trending a little while ago on Twitter or X or whatever it's called now. They also call it Twitter. And one of the writers, someone in the production said like they found like he was not like cast from the beginning. Like wherever they were shooting, they like found him and asked like, you want to be in there. So it was like a happy accident because they just wanted this like massive guy. And I do like the scene where like it's not a jump scare. It's just her friends like, what do you see? And then like just from the dark, he walks out and then he's like walking. So yeah, it was kind of happy accident. They just found this guy. So
Especially if you're
Performance for a
expecting that, like-
non-actor.
yeah.
Didn't say many lines, but like especially that you're expecting that like the chick that you saw in the kitchen, and this is
Yeah.
like
Right.
the complete opposite, like just super tall man with like sunken in eyes. Creepy.
Should turn into her mom there. I feel like that was a safe bet. But yeah, a lot of
Yeah, the
true.
mom has like 20 seconds of screen time. Very
Yeah.
weird to even have her in there at all, I felt.
Yeah, we went over this already about the condom and same-sex thing. So a lot of trivia I hit throughout. It's the same thing. In the beginning, the mirror, the main character, Jay, is seen looking at the mirror. She gets ready for her date with Hugh. There are two photos in the mirror. One is Jay's swimming pool, and one is the other of her and her father. At the end, it takes form of her father. Blah, blah, blah. We also see him in a photo towards the end of the movie. So yeah, there are two photos of the dad.
I also, sorry to cut you
no,
off
go
there,
ahead.
but I like how much she's hanging out in the pool. That's what she does to relax, and I like that. That's kind of
Yeah.
where the movie ends too, with the swimming pool scene, and then also, I mean, a lot of beach and a lot of just water in this
Yeah.
movie. But I like the kind of going from that mini swimming pool to the big one in that abandoned place was a nice little callback moment.
Well, good thing she does, because like Taylor said, she had to be in that pool for days, right? So
Exactly.
she's swimming there a
Super
lot.
pruny skin at the end.
Yeah, just can't even fight back. A sequel to the film was in talks in 2015, shortly after release, but as of 2021, no new updates regarding the sequel have resurfaced, and director David Robert Mitchell has since moved on to other projects. As of right now, he's only directed one thing. He's directing one more thing. I've always wanted to check it out because Andrew Garfield's in it, and there's a few other things, but I've heard it's not. Everybody I've talked to that's seen it has been like it's not great, but I want to check it out at some point because there's other people too that are in the cast. They're like, oh, this is really intriguing. And then, however, the star McKay Monroe, who played Jay, has expressed interest in returning to a sequel if ever made. So. Again, like I said, I think there is some potential of like them thinking they haven't seen this thing in 10 years, right? And then it's like it comes back and it's finally gone its way back to you. So I think there's potential. It was a movie too. It was made like a 1.3 budget, made 20 million, so it made like almost 20 times its budget. Probably by the time DVD sales and everything, 20 times the budget
That's
back.
crazy that it didn't get a sequel then.
Yeah, originally it was a one weekend in the theaters and then opening to VOD. But the first weekend did so good they kept it in theaters for a little while longer and pushed the VOD date back quite a bit. And it was a movie like I get fuck I don't even know if I said it 3 times. It was a movie that I didn't get to see in theaters. It didn't play here. It was very small, but it was one of those internet movies of it was spreading like, have you seen It Falls? Have you heard It Falls? I think it's because it was like a first time director, and that was the thing where it's like, oh, look at this. It was kind of one of those surprise movies. So it was a movie that had like a lot of cred out there for like the horror community and stuff. And then, and the directors talked about too that people have. See, it's a thing. People like turn against the ending. I don't have a problem with a lot of people don't like the pool setup and the traps and everything like that. He described it as he was trying to go for like a Scooby-Doo-esque trap set because these are kids and teenagers dealing with a thing. So that's what he was trying to go for. I don't mind that. I buy all the electrics in the trap and stuff. It's the other things, but that was his motivation behind that as like a Scooby-Doo-esque sort of ending. So
ultimately, I think that is a good way to explain away some of the maybe nonsensical choices and planning of this. Is like, yeah, these are just kids, and how can anyone be prepared for the situation?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just this, because it's this endless momentum thing, you can never really get your bearings and figure shit out. And yeah, you're trying to figure out the rules, meanwhile trying to just stay alive, and also you just can't sleep, so now you're on multiple days of probably 2 hours of sleep. So yeah, and that way I feel like that kind of fills in some of those potential plot holes as well.
Yeah. Dilmas, final thoughts on this movie?
No, I feel like I've said it all. I enjoyed it, even though I feel like spent a good 30 minutes just breaking down all the ways that the rules don't work or don't make sense or are inconsistent. For me, that stuff didn't really bother me when I was watching it, and maybe it will, to Kirkland's point, on a rewatch. But this is definitely one I will check out again at some point. Once again, we didn't really talk about this because there's not much to say, but I loved the lo-fi vibes of this for a horror movie. That's such a weird take, and so this movie, just between that weird set of the setting not really making much sense, I just feel like it had a lot of style to it as well. So I want to go check out, see what other stuff this director has done.
Under the Silver Lagoon, I think it's called, or something like that.
See, I love that name. I'm already in. So even if it's it doesn't have great acclaim, I just feel like there's something interesting and creative about this that is worthy of praise. So I'm glad we covered it. I'm glad I finally watched it. It's been been on the backlog for a while.
Do you think we'd be really low key if this problem happened to us?
I think we'd be pretty opposite of that.
Yeah. I thought you could be low key. I thought like you, if Briggs was still around, Saris, I think a lot of the Custro people, like Clinton, would have been like just nothing. But I feel like I'd be pretty animated, and Taylor would be too. Taylor,
I'd be fucking ecstatic. Not ecstatic. I'd be livid. Bad.
Wrong word. Following me.
Ghost STD. I've heard about this. And Kirkland, I don't know. I feel like it's 50-50 with Kirkland. I don't know what side he'd go on. So
I don't know. We'll have to
you would
find
know
out.
he's being followed. Shay just pops in his room and he's
we just saw he wouldn't
pretty
take
jumpy.
It well.
Yeah.
And Dylan, I forgot to ask because she did watch it. What did Muds think about this?
I think she enjoyed it actually. Maybe not a favorite necessarily, but she had a good time with it.
I felt like now thinking back to, and I said there wasn't too much gore, and the first 5 minutes was the girl with the split leg. I did forget about that, but other than that, there's not too many there's not too many times, you know. Like there's, I think it's
She
like
did say that, like, wow, Travis lied about the
Very first.
But I
scene,
don't
yeah.
think it was. I don't think it was that bad. Like most of the movie is, it's more about the suspense than the
Yeah.
actual weird, gross things going on.
I kind of forgot that her leg was in that form. I thought she was just dead on the beach, but no, it was not a good way to go. So, Taylor
I
Field,
think she died from that, or
yeah, beat her with her
Yeah.
own leg.
shit.
She leg
Yeah.
fucked her.
There's definitely
Broken
better
high
ways to go than that.
Yeah, it's probably like her mom too. So
I'm probably not going to revisit this anytime soon. I don't have a need or a motivation now, especially if I'm just kind of turning towards other films at this point in time. This is not going to be one
that
that
even mean? You
Turning
sound
towards other.
you're giving the worst breakup speech ever. You know, as I'm turning towards other people, I just think it's best we part ways.
yeah, that's it.
Probably
I hope it
won't
wins the
aggravate you.
I hope it wins the Halloween poll next year too. You know,
Oh, please no. What were the other contenders for the poll this year? I was trying to remember.
there's a lot. You're probably gonna be mad. There was Deep Rising, a movie that Espos was obsessed with. Clay put in House of Wax, the 2005 edition.
That's the one I wanted. Yeah, with Paris
Oh,
Hilton and
dude,
all
that's
that.
one on my list. I want to watch that.
Maddie
that
Six-
was one that I, as a kid, my sister watched it, and I was probably like in the house, like just trying to peek in, and it was like too scary or something. But I have no idea.
See a little
That's
Paris
cool.
Hilton. Maddie Six put in Haunt from 2019. Chris Balga, speaking of what we were talking about earlier, Return of the Living Dead. Michael Agostino put in 30 Days a Night, and then April Darkness put in Bloodfest. This was a lot of submissions going on, and it came down to 30 Days of Night and It Follows. Those were the two. What was the final tally here? The score of all of them were closer, but then they tied. That's what happened. 30 Days a Night and It Falls tied at one point, but then in the tiebreaker, it was 75% It Falls and then 25% 30 Days a Night. But hey, I'm not trying to be biased. I'm not trying to sway the jury here. I thought there'd be an obvious pick when we did this last year. Didn't happen. Thought this year again. I'm just gonna put it out there. If anyone just wants to slide in Trick or Treat, that would be great. I'm just waiting for I thought for sure last year that would be the course, and we got Empty Man, and then now It Falls. I'm like, where? It's not a submission. It's the greatest Halloween movie of all time. We've not had it on the list once.
If only we were our own content creators and we could.
That's not how it
choose
works. We're a podcast for the people, by the people.
Unlike
You
the
know?
It creature, Taylor, we have rules to follow.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
true.
Taylor, your score.
I'd probably go I will give it a 5 out of 10. I would give it that
Respectable.
pass, but you know where I stand, listeners. You've heard me already talk about this. I'm
You've
not going to
seen
be ready
other
to see it
movies.
again, but I will say if you haven't seen this film, but watch it. I mean, you just listen to us spoil it for you, but I think everyone should at least watch this once because I think it has interesting messaging in there and it has some pretty cool scenes that they filmed in certain tense moments as well that you don't necessarily feel in other media, is like just that slow tension of this thing walking towards you, like the old lady or just
Cockeye.
sequences, Cockeye,
Cockeye.
yeah. Cockeye on the roof, yeah.
That's gonna be
Vi-
Kirkland's
Vigo
Halloween
cock.
costume at the party this year.
Just butt us naked. Guys, who
on
am
the
I?
roof.
Yeah, you have to have like a paper mache roof like under your feet when you walk.
Real cock, though. I gotta grow some bush.
Yeah. Okay, Shay, I want you to be Jay, and I'm gonna be cockeye on the roof.
Cockeye on the roof. You go in and party. I'll just be on the roof. the whole time.
Or it's
Tell them I'm
Kirkland.
out. Tell them I'm
Always
out
up
here.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's time for charades. Kirkland.
Yeah, no, I pleasantly surprised by it. I'm very glad I finally got to see it. Very strong first and second act, weaker in the third. I think I'll give it 8.5 out of 10.
Oh, that sounds higher than you were making it
Um,
sound before.
Yeah, I definitely was like, by the time I got to the end, I was kind of like significantly less high on it than I was. Yeah, like I was kind of disappointed with how it went in the ending acts, but yeah, I just thought it just tackled such a really cool, creepy concept that yeah, I'm glad I got to see. So definitely would recommend it. Like Taylor said, I think this is a good one. Even if you're like not a big horror fan, I feel like it's not as intense as maybe some other big horror movies are. So it might be like a good introductory to the horror film franchise. As I'm giving a recommendation, as Taylor said, we've already covered basically the entire movie, so probably a bad time to give my recommendation. But yeah, thumbs up for me on this one.
Yeah, I let Kirkland go next because I thought he'd be the same or lower than me. So I'll spoil that by I'm a 7 out of 10. I think that's where I am on it. Maybe I can go like a 7.5. Maybe be around there. But yeah, I love a good slasher, beat 'em up, just turn your brain off, have some fun, popcorn flick. But then you got these horror thrillers that I do like, a message that has a theme, has something that you can relate towards real life. And it's a very clever, I think just like on the pitch alone, it was always going to get like a pass for me because it's very clever, has a cool vibe to it. And I think it is a movie that, yeah, it's like a 7.5 for me, but I can see like a lot of people like why it's top up there, you know? And if the rules don't really bother you, because that happens to me, like I always say, Showtime, lots of the time, Harry Potter, Endgame, like time travel stuff, like that never bothers me because it's fucking time travel. I go, it's a fucking made up thing that we can't do. I'm fine with whatever rules they present. I don't need to do, oh, it's this and that and that and this. No. So that's the same thing. If those rules don't bother you, that's like, yeah, and it's really enjoyable. Some fun performances here. Very creative movie at times. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Like I said, 7.5. Those are usually movies I return to and we'll watch again. I'm sure at some point in my life I'll see it again. But same thing, when I had seen this, I think it was now like 8 or 9 years ago, because I feel like that's when we were talking about it, was the start of the podcast. So that was 2015. So and this was 2014. So I probably saw it that year or the year after it came out. So it has been a minute. And I feel like that's when it will be again. And so when I haven't seen it in a while, and it's like, okay, let's put this back on. Or if there was like if they somehow did a sequel, that would probably be, okay, I'm going to refresh the juices and see what's going on here.
Refresh those juices.
Refresh the juices. So that was your Halloween retrospective. It follows. Thank you very much to all your submissions. Like I said, I can't remember if there's one coming up in November, but if not, we will be having one coming up in Christmas. So the Christmas retrospective, those are always fun. What did we do night before was last year. That was a good time. So we'll see what happens this year. Thank you to all the patrons. Thank you again, Summer Hansey, for putting this in here. It was a fun conversation. I hope you go invest in some blimp stock. Make sure you do all that, and we promise you it'll not be boring.
Later, y'all.
Bye.